Good morning. I would like to welcome our students, staff, and guests to today's ribbon cutting ceremony as we celebrate the opening of Sullivan East Middle School. I would like to personally thank everyone that played a part in making this day possible. At this time, I would like to introduce my assistant principals, Ms. Sabrina King and Mr. Hank Hare. I cannot thank them enough for all their support during this transition. Also, we have Mr. Andy Hare, principal of Sullivan East Middle School, and Mr. Billy Barr with Woodman Life. I would also like to personally thank them for their support of Sullivan East Middle School. Mr. Hare and Mr. Barr will now do the presentation of the flags.
Thank you, Mr. Stalcup. On behalf of Sullivan East High School, we would like to present to you all this flag that was flown over our campus and over the East Zone in the honor of Sullivan East Middle School. May this flag bring to you all as much pride as it has brought us. So, on behalf of Sullivan East High School, we can't hide our patriot pride. And on behalf of Woodman Life, Mr. Billy Barr will also present to you a flag, an American flag, and a state flag to be flown over East Middle School.
With Woodman, and I'd like to begin by thanking the Sullivan County School System. And I'm the product of that. I went to Chinkpin Grove Elementary back in the late 50s and graduated from Bluff City High School in 1967. One of the reasons I stand before you as a patriot is because of one of the teachers I had, and that's Mr. Lester Carrier. He was sixth grade American history teacher, and you know, sixth period rather, you have a tendency maybe to nod off or late in the day, but Mr. Carrier's passion for American history led me to want to know more about it, and that was a good start. He also had a lot of influence in our character, and we've had really great teachers in our school system, and we still do today, and thank you very much. In talking about the American flag, in the program this morning it says the meaning of the American flag. I want you to add two words in that. Meaning of the American flag to me. Now I could give you the history of this, and it gives us a lot of head knowledge. But what I want you to have this morning is some heart knowledge. What does this flag mean to you? I'll give you the process I went through. You'll have to develop your own process because it is a very special symbol of our country. It means so many things. I got to thinking about this, and it led me to an attitude of gratitude. I come up with three ideas, and that would be gratitude to our forefathers. And we can run this thing all the way back to Christopher Columbus discovering America. Tremendous heritage we have even in Tennessee. We have contributed three presidents, Andrew Jackson, Andrew Johnson, James K. Polk. I want to mention too here this morning, since we had President's Day yesterday, was George Washington earned the nickname Father of our Country for his commanding the General of the Army and being the first president. Tremendous forefather. Also Abraham Lincoln. He amazes me in that he was born so very poor, but but his character led him to be nicknamed Honest Abe. And he's very instrumental when he was president in leading our country during the Civil War and preserving the Union. A lot of things we could say about our forefathers and the heritage, and I think we owe a lot to them. Second thing I thought about was the heritage of our servicemen. We've always had a generation of people who were willing to sacrifice their life, their time, to protect our freedom, you and me. That's pretty special. We could go over a lot of different people here, generals. I want to mention one, and he's a Tennessean. I've been to his home down in Jamestown, Sergeant Alvin York. Tremendous bravery. Led a group of men. They captured 32 German machine guns and ended up capturing 132 Germans. So every generation has had tremendous contributions in our military. Right now in our military we have a little over 2 million people serving, over 200,000 in 150 different countries. You know, I don't know about you, but that says something in my heart that somebody's out there, and that flag symbolizes that freedom. The third thing I want to talk about is that I became very aware of my blessings, and they come from Almighty God. You think about, we sit here this morning, you only had a 6% chance statistically of being born in the United States. That's pretty low odds. And I thought about this a little bit more. I thought, you know, I had the health to get up out of bed, to be here this morning. I had clothes to wear, food to eat. You know, I didn't have to worry about a roadside bomb coming down here this morning. And actually, didn't even hit any potholes. We've got a great road system also in our county here. But you get to thinking about our blessings. And that flag, it truly does symbolize all this. And God has richly blessed us in this country. If you take that 6%, we're probably, of all the people in the world, we're down in that top 1%. I appreciate the school, what it stands for, and may you wave Old Glory very proudly, and when you wear this one out, we'll be here to give you another one. Thank you.
This time I ask you to please stand for the presentation of colors, followed by the pledge and the Star Spangled Banner.
Right. Face. Breathe in. Colors.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Thank you. Please be seated. Good morning. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome and recognize some special guests. First of all, the Sullivan East Middle School 8th grade class. Would you wave? All right. The Sullivan East faculty, staff, and administration, who some of you met already. Wave. And this morning we have members of our school board, of the Board of Education, so I'd like to introduce them. Matthew Spivey, Mr. Mike Hughes, Mr. Randall Jones, Mr. Randall Gilmore, Jane Thomas, Mark Ierson, and Paul Robinson. Please welcome them. Former school board member Jerry Green. And we'd like to say a thank you and recognize Mr. Dan Wills and Jack Bales, who couldn't be here with us today, and also to remember Betty Combs and her contributions, who recently passed away. We have with us some Sullivan County commissioners. Would you please wave at us? Thank you for being here. Sullivan County Mayor Richard Venable. And any other elected official who has not already been recognized, would you please wave? All right, thank you for being here. And we have Deneen West, who is chief of the design team for the school. Deneen, would you wave? Thank you. I've been asked this morning to share a little bit of history of the Overmountain men, and these comments were prepared for me by Amber Torbett, who you will meet in just a few minutes. Close to 240 years ago, the people that lived on these lands near our new school fought for your freedom. Some of them are buried in the Weaver Cemetery just up Weaver Pike near the old school. On September 24, 1780, these settlers found themselves in a predicament to fight for freedom or surrender their lands. The British referred to these folks as backwater men, not civilized, not living within the cities of the original colonies. General George Washington and the Continental Army called these settlers the Overmountain men. Some of you may call these folks your ancestors, as many folks from this area can trace their family history back to the Revolutionary War time period to discover that one of their grandparents was an Overmountain man. At this time in 1870, Sullivan County was not even yet Sullivan County, nor was it even Tennessee. This area was called Fincastle County in Virginia, and yet lands that were over the mountains, the Appalachian Mountains, which were at the time the wild frontier. During their call to action to fight against the British during the height of the Revolutionary War, the Overmountain men became known as patriots. Today, we celebrate your new school that's located in the foothills of the Holston Mountains and along the pathway to freedom. These patriots marched near the campuses of Sullivan East High and today Sullivan East Middle as they made their way down the South Holston River and then towards Fort Watauga, today called Sycamore Shoals in Elizabeth. Eventually, the Overmountain men rode on horseback all the way to Kings Mountain on the border of North Carolina and South Carolina and defeated the British in a fight that only lasted an hour. If it had not been for the Overmountain men, many of whom were from the foothills of these mountains behind you, George Washington's Continental Army might have lost the war. Thomas Jefferson was quoted saying that this battle at Kings Mountain was the turning point and the tide for the Revolutionary War. And yet, these Overmountain men did not have government-issued uniforms or military supplies. They brought only what they could carry on horseback and traveled over 300 miles. So now you know why Sullivan East and Sullivan Middle are both home of the Patriots. No other mascot would do. Today, we would like to recognize a few of the Overmountain men who tirelessly travel the historic route every year, teaching the students of this forgotten history. These volunteers who have been coming to our schools for decades. In partnership with the Overmountain Victory Trail Association members, the National Park Service, the cities, the counties, and the schools and other volunteers have restored over 100 trail miles and parks along the 300 plus miles of historic trails for your recreational and educational use. Sullivan County has 1.5 miles certified and more are planned nearby. For those of you who live in Bluff City and attended Bluff City Middle School, you should be very familiar with the Overmountain Victory Trail, as your previous school is located on this historic route. Such history in the hallways of Bluff City Middle. And at this time, I would like to welcome Troop 4 of the Boy Scouts to the floor, along with their troop master, Jeff Hyder, and the Overmountain men. And also I'd like to introduce Amber Torbett, who is the Director of Planning for Sullivan County. Thank you.
Thank you all. I am Amber Torbett. I do work for Sullivan County. I work for all of you all. Our troop master could not make it today. He also has a full-time job. But we do have Troop 4 Boy Scouts of Piney Flats. And today they're going to be honored with some, for their work that they have been studying for the last several months. We have representation of the Overmountain Victory Trail Association. Many of you all should remember them as they led our program on Overmountain Heritage Day this past September. And they've been coming to your Bluff City Middle School for years. So let me give you a little bit of background of what the boys have been up to for the past several months. They have recently completed their Overmountain Victory Trail study within our region, visiting historic sites and trails as a group, as well as with their families on their own time. Some of these sites I'm sure you all have visited, specifically Rocky Mount, historic site in Piney Flats, that is part of the history of the Overmountain Trail, as well as Sycamore Shoals, which is also an integral part of the Overmountain history, as that was a mustering ground and encampment for the Overmountain men on September 25th, 1780. The boys have visited historic Pemberton Farm, which is on Pemberton Road here in the Bluff City, Bristol area. Some of you all are from that area. And one of our Overmountain men today, Mr. Tom Vaughn, who is here, he is an heir and owner of the Pemberton Farm. That's his family's farm. That was a historic site on the Overmountain March. The boys also visited Fort Womack. Some of you all know where Fort Womack is. All of you all pass Fort Womack almost every day on your way to school. It's on Silver Grove Road. It is private property, but it was a historic area and an encampment, very historic fort of this region. The boys also visited the swinging footbridge over the Holston River. How many of you all have walked across the swinging footbridge? It's safe. Sullivan County Highway Department takes care of it for you. If you have walked across the swinging footbridge, have you noticed the little locks? They're locks of love. It makes me so happy. People are getting engaged there, promising their undying love, but that's significant. The swinging footbridge obviously was not there in 1780, but it is part of our historic route so we can cross the river safely. And I hope that you take care of that bridge. It's there for you all to enjoy and not vandalize. On either side of that bridge, the boys also studied those two historic sites. One is called Patriots Trailhead, for obvious reasons, and the other is called Choates Ford Trailhead on the Bluff City side. Choates Ford was the original name of the city of Bluff City. It was the first name before it was changed several names after that. So for obvious reasons, that's why we named the park Choates Ford. On both of those trailheads, there are historic markers that speak about the history of the Overmountain Trail. In the next year or two, you all will also have a historic marker on the school campus that will describe the Overmountain Victory Trail in this region. Thanks to the National Park Service for their funding effort on that. So the boys have visited several sites just here in Sullivan County that are open to the public or on private property that you can view from the road. They have also individually or in their previous years have camped up at Roan Mountain, which is also on the path of the Overmountain Trail. They have biked or ran the Tweetsee Trail, which connects to the Overmountain Trail. And there are other sites just in our region that you all can go to as well. But the boys of Troop 4 will be recognized today by some of our Overmountain men who live right here in Sullivan County, and they have come again to help out. I would like to call upon David Doan, who is the president of the Overmountain Victory Trail Association. And Mr. Tom Vaughn, who is our Rocky Mount chapter president of the OVTA. I would like to call Mr. Dan King, a member of the OVTA board member. And Ms. Jane Doe, member of the OVTA. AJ, Don, Bradley, James, and Carl, will you please step forward? So the boys have been honored today for their work on studying the Overmountain Victory Trail. And they have spent a lot of time in the field learning about the history. And so the Overmountain Victory Trail Association have funded this program, this educational program. It's actually open to any student, but today they will honor them with their patch.
As president of the OVTA, it's a great honor to come today and present this award to these scouts. They have very well earned it. But this group of scouts mean even more than that to me. This Troop 4 has become part of my life. It's not a troop that I work with, but I'm Frontier Camp Director at Camp David Crockett, Boy Scout Camp, which is our council camp. For the last 2 years, they've helped me tremendously at camp. They've come down and done a lot of building projects. I've gotten to know them. When they show up, they come up to me and they're standing there with a big smile on their face. We're here, what I need to do, even though they're not part of Frontier Camp that week. So, y'all part of my family now. And I really enjoy having worked with you. So thank y'all very much, Tom.
As Amber said, these boys have earned a patch today for visiting at least 5 sites on or associated with the Overmountain Victory Trail. Now,
She also said, and you may not remember it, but every single one of you also have this opportunity, and the sheets that you check off will be waiting in the office. I'll get them there right after this program. So we hope to have, 200 next year that we can pass patches out to?